I want to share because I feel like as people are listening, there's still like this limiting belief of like, yeah, but not me. Yeah, but that's not my mode or methodology of teaching or preaching, or I don't want a camera in my face. There was a long season where you were essentially in the shadows. You were feeling like you weren't in the fulfillment of what God's promises were. And that was associated to your husband and your kids and the season of life that you were in with ministry. Explain, or at least express and maybe unlock for the listeners, what were some of the things that you were doing in those quiet places that prepared you for where you are now in that limelight, in that joy?
Well, I mean, just being real honest, my husband and I, before all of this, we were church planting in the UK, like I said, but we literally lived in a valley on a cemetery. And it was like, it's funny now, but at the time, like, and everything goes wrong. Like, that saying, like, everything you touch turns to gold. It was the exact opposite for us. And in those seasons, like, you can honestly feel like Job, like, what have I done? Like, I've missed it. Or really attaching your self-worth and your ability to like stay in tune with God. Like, what are we doing wrong? And I look back at that, and it was halfway through that God was like, this is a divine season, Melissa. And I looked out and I was like, hang on a second. I'm in a valley on a cemetery. This is not my season to be woohoo, like mountaintop. This is a season of pruning. This is a season of going deep. This is a season of excavation. This is a season of grief. This is a season of removal. This is a season of things dying. And I mean, it's painful. It's literally so painful. And those seasons, I don't think we give enough credit to or talk about them enough. And I think when we go through them, we just feel shame. But I look at that, and I know that I shared this with you, but God spoke to me one day and he said, Melissa, mountaintop experiences are for sights and inspiration, but the fruit grows in the valleys. And I was like, wow, I wanted this like pain-free life, but God was showing me how to live a profound life, because even Jesus had the crowds, he had the miracles, he had the healings, but there was the cross.
Yeah.
And there was the death, and there was the betrayal. And like, to think that we're not going to go through both, and to like let God be the author and perfecter of our faith. Like he writes our story, like a good story has both. And so I just think, like, for anyone right now that's in a season where they feel like nothing's going right, maybe they're putting out content, it isn't working. I actually did do that during that time. And I felt God speak to me. He's like, just stop. He was like, just stop. This isn't,
it's not going to work.
That's not going to work. He's like, it's not going to work. So I stopped, and I surrendered fully to this season of struggle, pain, grief, hardship. And I was like, I trust you, God. Trust you with my mountaintops, that whenever it comes, if it ever comes, that it will be to lift up your name, and that you know the dreams and desires of my heart. And so I think, with all that to say, God builds our life. And so I'm so grateful for the valley, because I know that I'm literally spiritually bankrupt. I know it, because in my season where I tried my absolute hardest, I produced a raisin. And now, like, anything that comes in my life, I'm like, I know it's all God. I know I couldn't do this on my own. So the valley was a blessing.
It's such a revelation. And you said it so quickly, and I want to make sure people hear it, that you said either living a pain-free life or a profound life. And it popped out. I've got to say it. It's coming from the book. Okay, you guys ready? This is my favorite section so far. But living this life is not without struggle. This path is not an escape from life's wounds and disappointments. To live from our souls is to pursue our greatest passions and expose ourselves to our greatest pain. We cannot live to create and be surprised that we have traveled through failure. We cannot live a life of passion and not know sorrow. To pursue a dream is to invite in a nightmare. To live a life of love is to know betrayal and loss. The soul is both fragile and resilient. The artisan's soul embraces the essential nature of both vulnerability and efficacy. All creativity emerges from struggle. All art is born out of the pain of labor. and the artisan soul must be both tender and tough.
It's so good, Tamra.
It's so connected.
That book, honestly, just shout out to Erwin McManus. If he ever hears this podcast episode, I just connect that book.
It's amazing. I want to soak in it so much that I'm like, I am one of those people, I could finish it like right now. I could go to the bathtub and just be done. And I'm like, no, it's so sweet. I want to suck out every single juice from every single chapter. And I am so hopeful that my next book that I release has my creative space of poetry and my way of like playing with words. I really want to practice that more. It was an invitation to say, play with me again is really where I hear Christ in this season of my life.
That's so good, Tamra. I'm excited for that. You're going to do so good.
It's going to be amazing. Melissa, you are such a gem to me. You bring me such solace whenever I'm with you. I just feel like, and I can't even imagine when we get our kiddos together how much fun they're going to have. So it's got to happen sooner than later, but you're a blessing to me in so many ways. And I know that this community is going to be blessed by you as well. You guys are going to get to see her at FounderCon. If you come, either way, virtually or in person, she is going to be speaking on a social media panel. So we'll have to extract some of the goodness that we didn't extract here, because we could talk for hours, literally. We would talk from 5 a.m. to 10 p.m. the entire retreat. Yes, and show up wearing the same colors every day. Workout, pajamas, outfit is hilarious.
It's so true.
It's so
Kindred
good.
Spirits.
So thank you. Thank you in advance for how you're going to pour into the community there. And thank you for being here today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, Tamra. You are a light, and I saw it from the beginning. So I'm cheering you and championing you on over here, girl.
So bringing people into your community, and obviously all the social channels you can get involved in. She's most hanging out on TikTok, I find, but she's overplaying on Instagram right now too. She also has a podcast of her own. So please be sure to tune in to She Can Share. She's got the She Can Laugh book, which is about to bring it's going to reemerge. We're going to see it more often. I'm prophetically speaking right now. Actually, I'm just coaching her into what I want. And her children's book. And she's got an incredible She Can Dress. Is that right? Yeah. She can dress. I know all the things. And so definitely be sure to get engaged. And if you're looking for a little bit more camera courage, she is my go-to. I don't look to anyone else. I love the way she shows up so authentically, and she does it wearing all the hats as a mom and a wife as well. That's so important to me, because I don't want anyone to ever think that I got here without them, because they're the reason that I show up and the reason that I get to show up with such joy and intention every single day, because I start there.